A lot of people wondering what the name is going to be. We have more on that coming.
Yeah,
Don't worry.
for sure.
The votes have come in. We've gotten tons of votes, so stick around for that. But let's get into the top 50 here, Matthew, and just talk draft strategy, right? Everybody's wondering, where do I want to pick in the first round? How do I want to pick in the first round? Let's just start with the early picks here, 1 through 4, because obviously this is where you're looking ahead and you're going, I know I'm going to take one of Jamar Chase, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, maybe Justin Jefferson. But how do you play that when you're picking 1 through 4, thinking about, okay, I'm going to be waiting a while for this to swing back to me?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, I know, first off, my ranks are for PPR leagues, 1 quarterback, traditional leagues, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 or 3 wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, right? So we're going to talk about Superflex later. We can talk about 2 QB leagues. We'll talk about guillotine leagues at guillotineleagues.com. Those are all different draft strategies. So what we're talking about here is kind of like basic sort of draft strategy for, typical leagues. And I feel like I kind of like going wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, right? Listen, you're not going to lose your league if you have Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs, but I feel like the better values as it plays out, the better values at the end of round 2 are sort of the running backs. You're kind of in that Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown range, right about there. So I sort of like that tier of running back than that tier of wide receiver. But the other thing is, I'll just say in general, I always get like, hey, I've got pick 3. Is it too early for Malik Neighbors or Ashton Genty or whatever? And the answer is like, no, man, go get your guys. We talked about this the other day. Like Ashton Genty, if you have the 3rd pick and you want Ashton Genty, he's not coming back around you. Your only chance to get him is there. And I don't think you're losing your league because you go with Ashton Genty. Like there are guys I like more, obviously, but did I make a mistake if I go for Jahmyr Gibbs instead of like Jefferson or Chase? No, man, like you're not losing your league because you have Jahmyr Gibbs on your roster, I promise you. Like it's just all about roster construction. I tend not to go into a draft saying I'm definitely doing running back here or wide receiver here. It sort of depends on how the draft comes to me.
State Farm Jake asked, how critical is it to get a running back in the first 2 rounds on a 12-team PPR league? Is 0 running back viable in deeper formats?
For sure, it always is. Again, there's no one right way to win. I've seen hero RB, I've seen RB, I've seen 0 RB. I've seen them all win. 0 RB just means you have to hit on those mid to late round running back picks. You need to find this year's Bucky Irving. And by the way, it doesn't always have to be a guy like Bucky Irving that is going to be a, superstar, or a Chase Brown that's going to be a superstar from the middle of the season on. Again, fantasy football is a weekly game. Like your whole goal is every week to field a lineup that can beat the person you're playing. And so there are going to be people that for like 3 weeks are usable. Like there's a chance that week 1, Ollie Gordon or Jalen Wright are usable because there's a chance that Devon Achane is out. Like we think he's going to be ready for week 1, but we don't know, right? There's always guys like that will be usable for 2 or 3 weeks here, right? Zach Charbonnet is the king of that. Like I love Zach Charbonnet this year. I would, look, Ken Walker is always banged up. There's going to be 4 or 5 weeks this year, I promise you, where Zach Charbonnet is a top 10 fantasy running back. And so, you don't always have to. So my point is that you just have, if you go 0 RB, you want to make sure that you have a lot of those guys that potentially can be a star for you or a starter for you in a given week. Because it's not just about having a guy that goes off. It's about knowing when to start that guy.
Yep. Zach Charbonnet, by the way, on DraftKings, his over-under for rushing yards is set around like 490 and a half rushing yards for the season. He's going over on that, I think.
Yeah.
He just needs Ken Walker to miss a couple of weeks, which he most likely will. I think in the top 4 picks, I found, Connor, that feel very good about Jamar Chase and Bijan Robinson as the top 2. After that, like 3 through 10, I just don't think there's that much gap between these guys like Saquon, Jefferson dealing with the hamstring, Jahmyr Gibbs, McCaffrey, Lamb. Like I think these are all variations of the same. So I feel much better picking either feel okay about the top 2, but then prefer the end of the range.
I kind of like that 7-8 range in picking in the towards the middle of the second half of the draft, because I agree with Jay here. There's kind of a bunch of elite guys there that I don't think there's a huge difference between the guy I have ranked 5th and the guy I have ranked 9th, for example.
And speaking of that point, Jay, our Guillotine League is drafting right now. RotoPat took Chase 1, I took Bijan 2. Yep. So you're going to, even though rankings will have Saquon higher or might value Jefferson differently, obviously we have Matthew's rankings up, and that's how it went in our draft as well.
By the way, check out our brand new app, guillotineleagues.com, or in the App Store, wherever. I'm telling you. Good stuff.
And that's, again, all about format there. So with pick 3 in that draft, after Connor took Bijan 2, I took Jahmyr Gibbs 3 because just guillotine, you're looking for floor, less
Correct.
injury risk. In a redraft league, I'd probably take Christian McCaffrey at 3, but much more comfortable with Jahmyr Gibbs in his youth and just injury risk, taking him at 3 over CMC.
Let's get back to those middle picks, 5 to 9 range, which is a range you really like, Matthew. If you're open to taking, say, Brock Bowers in the second round, which tight end is always very controversial that early, are you more comfortable with this range starting with a running back or wide receiver, or does it depend, once again, how it kind of shakes out?
Depends on how it shakes out, but I think I'm more comfortable with a wide receiver. I just think it is generally easier to find running backs later. It is easier to find running backs in the middle and later rounds and during the season that pop that you can use for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Because, again, you have to think about this. It's not about whether this guy goes off. It's about knowing when to start that guy. When Ken Walker's out, start Zach Charbonnet. But, you're not going to know, this is the week that, I'm trying to think of a good example here, but this is the week that Marvin Mims goes off. Right? You know what I mean? It's just, it's easier to find. So I'd rather a wide receiver here early because I think at the top level, there's more consistent production week in, week out. Whereas I think it's harder to find those wide receivers that consistently, that pop, that will pop in the middle rounds or late rounds. They're sleepers, but I feel better about finding running backs that you can use at least for weeks here, a couple weeks there.
There's also just wide receivers in general have a higher floor, particularly these superstars. There is no way that Justin Jefferson or CD Lamb or Amon-Ra St. Brown, these guys cannot fail without injury. They're going to get theirs. Whereas guys like, I think about Bijan Robinson, his rookie season, right? Where he comes in as, he's a runaway favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's, I think, first-round draft pick as a rookie. And Tyler Algier is a massive part of the offense. And just more weirdness happens with running backs, I find.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know which one it's going to be. At first it was Tank Bigsby, then it's Travis Etienne. Now it's maybe back to Tank Bigsby. We all love Bashal Tutin. I don't know who the starting running back of the Jacksonville Jaguars is going to be, but one of those guys is going to have a lot of value this year.
Yeah.
And it might be different guys throughout the season. When Tutin gets up to speed.
Right.
We just talked about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Chris Rodriguez, who are, shooting up draft boards as well. I just feel like there's more guys that come into the league that are useful, right, than others. I'm sure we'll be talking about Keaton Mitchell, right? At some point this season.
The Steelers' backfield, we don't have a lot of answers on right now. They used a decent pick on Caleb Johnson. They're kind of keeping Jalen Warren, bubble wrapped right now, and then you have Kenneth Gainwell getting work with the starters.
Right.
So you might not have the answer to that till the end of September.
No, we've talked about the Browns' backfield. We've talked about the Jets' backfield, where there's some confusion there. There might be multiple guys that are useful there. I feel better about if you're going to go Bowers at 2, or even McBride or Kittle in the 3rd. I feel better about having a wide receiver, an elite wide receiver in the 1st and or 2nd round because I feel like I'll be able to better find a running back in the middle rounds than a wide receiver that will pop. Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and Rotoworld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.